going on, Only Playbook fans? We are back for another week. Week 5 is officially wrapped up. Week 6 on tap here. So a lot to talk about. How are you feeling 6 weeks into the football season?
I had to trade away basically the whole roster, as you know, in our redraft league. So I think I'm good for now. But as these players start to come back healthy, I could be in trouble. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare, and kudos to you for not just kind of resting on your laurels. A lot of times when you draft players and you start with injuries or you just start taking unfortunate losses, it's so easy to be like, well, I still like my team, so I'm just going to continue to sit on them and wait for them to produce. And a lot of times that's such a problem with fantasy football is most people just keep waiting and waiting and waiting, and it never happens. So kudos to you again for making moves, because making those types of moves are difficult to do. It's hard to let go of players like CD Lamb. Isn't that who you traded away?
Yeah,
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb. And then ended up packaging Puka, even though he's not hurt, which that one I think I'll come back to regret. But
Yeah, he's kind of
at the
killing it.
time, I
So
needed running back depth bad. So
yeah, I don't think very many people can relate and say, "Hey, in my league, I traded away both CD Lamb and Puka Nakua." So I mean, those are some massive, massive deals. We'll see if it pays dividends for you in the long run, man. But another week to dive into anytime touchdowns here for week 6. We got start sits, boom busts, hidden gem defenses, and kickers. So let's get right into it, Jake. We have 14 games on the slate, I believe, this week. 13 or 14 games, I believe. There are 2 teams on a bye. So first game on the board tonight, Thursday Night Football, the Eagles are traveling to New York to take on the Giants. I'm keeping it simple. That's my motto this week. Keep it simple, stupid, Jake. That's what I taught myself. I've been trying to get really outlandish with these like defensive touchdowns and stupid shit like that. Last week I did hit Evan Ingram at plus 360. That was kind of nice. But other than that, I feel like my goal needs to be just who's going to score a touchdown, not how I can get the most value or whatever. So I'm just going to take AJ Brown this week. Good matchup against the Giants. They've already had all this tumultuous BS go on behind the scenes, and we've already seen that, boom or bust roller coaster season he's happening. I just think this is a nice spot for him to really get him involved. Saquon revenge game, so he's naturally probably a pick that most people may have, but his price is so juiced. But AJ Brown I can get at plus 185, so give me AJ Brown this week.
I like it. So I went with another Eagles player. I went Dallas Goedert this week. So he's been very involved in the offense throughout the season. I think there's going to be a heavy focus on Saquon. They know he's a problem. They know the Eagles don't like to pass. Hurts kind of finds Goddard as his check down, his safety valve. So I think we have a good chance to see him in the end zone tonight.
Yeah, I like that a lot, Jake. Again, it seems like Jalen Hurts isn't throwing outside the numbers. He's throwing inside the numbers, and that's quite literally where Dallas Goedert eats. So he has definitely been the benefactor of that, but maybe, hopefully praying that he finally gets his wide receivers involved more. So we will see. Let's take it into Sunday. We have the Broncos taking on the Jets in New York. I'm keeping it simple again here. Give me the Broncos running back J.K. Dobbins at minus 110 to find the end zone. The Jets defense has been so much worse than I think anybody had predicted them to be. They are giving up points to everybody. They're constantly playing from behind by like 2-3 touchdowns. So the game script in basically all of their games has been the team that they're facing is up a bunch and running the ball quite a bit. Enter J.K. Dobbins, going to find the end zone. Minus 110 is a good price.
Yeah, I like it. So I actually went running back on the other side of the ball for this one. So I got Brees Hall. I think the Jets are really going to struggle to pass the ball against this defense. I mean, Fields is really not known for his passing to begin with. But I think it's going to be a run-heavy offense. You're really not going to try to test PS2 very much. So I think Brees Hall, if the Jets are able to get in the end zone, it's either him or Fields this week.
Yeah,
and he's
like
at plus 155, so I like the price.
Yeah, that is a good price. Like you said, they may struggle to score. They may struggle to move the ball, especially through the air. But if they're going to find the end zone, like you said, it's got to be Fields or Brees Hall. So good price there for him. Cardinals taking on the Colts in Indianapolis. I'm going back to the well, Jake. My man, your man, Tyler Warren, finding the end zone again. Plus 165. I think this would be 3 games in a row he scored. I think they're finally finding their footing of how to get this ball guy utilized the many which ways that they can get the football in his hand. And again, we already talked about it. Direct snaps, under center, even as like a tush push kind of guy. So there's just so many ways they can score the football. Cardinals defense kind of slightly under the radar has been pretty good, but their lack of offense, Kyler's, they're kind of boneheaded plays, sometimes just random turnovers in their own red zone. That leads me to believe that the Colts will have scoring opportunities here. And again, they've seen the formula that works, and that is get Tyler Warren the ball in the red zone. So it's plus 165.
Yep. I'm actually right there with you with Tyler Warren. So, I mean, we're seeing Kyler Murray. I just saw didn't practice today. So there's potential that he may not even play this weekend. That pretty much eliminated the Cardinals offense for me. If Kyler's out, I really don't see them scoring many points. I think the Colts will have a good opportunity to run it up this week. And Warren's been a very consistent option. You could always go Taylor as well, but the price is going to be significantly higher than what we're getting Warren at.
Yeah, I think it was like minus 245 or minus 250 for JT because he's been that good. So we're probably going to lay off that price. But no, you're right.
Yeah.
Again,
But he
Tyler
will
Warren's
probably
been
find the end
absolute
zone.
animal. Oh, he will. No doubt he will. No doubt he will.
Yeah.
Seahawks and Jags. The Seahawks have been just a nightmare for picking touchdown scorers because 1 week it's Ken Walker, 1 week it's Zach Charbonnet, and I feel like every time I'm picking the wrong guy. But I'm going to do it again, Jake. I'm taking Ken Walker this week, plus 110. Charbonnet got the vulture last week. Maybe this week they finally get Ken Walker in. Jags aren't that formidable of a defense, although their team has been playing surprisingly well. I still think the Seahawks are going to be able to run the football, and Ken Walker by far is the better running back. It's just a matter of, is he going to get vultured again? Praying this week he doesn't get vultured at plus 110.
Yeah. I went JSN this week, so I think Darnold really started to find his groove last week against the Bucks, the very high scoring game. JSN's taking the large percentage of the targets for them right now, so I think going to see him get the ball a lot. I think he's going to find the end zone.
I think one of my biggest regrets in all of fantasy football this year is that I have zero JSN stock, and it just kills me to watch him eat after eat after eat, and I'm just sitting there like can't relate, man. Nothing cool about this for me. So, and again, it haunts me that I took Marvin Harrison Jr. and JSN won a pick after in our dynasty. So, constantly remind myself, sometimes having nightmares. Cowboys taking on your Carolina Panthers. Rico Dowdle revenge game, they say. That's what I'm saying, and that's the narrative I'm going with. Chuba's still a little bit hobbled. Maybe they wait an extra week to get him fully healthy. So give me Rico Dowdle plus 110 to find the end zone against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I love it. Everything I'm reading out of like the Panthers camp, I believe that Hubbard is going to sit this week, or if he does play, it's probably going to be very limited snaps. Really don't need to rush him back with Rico playing as well as he did last week, and the Cowboys have not been the best defense so far this year. I actually still went with Cowboys player here just because Dak's been slinging it so much this year. I really like Pickens this week at plus 110. I think we could see Dak for 3 or 4 touchdown passes, hoping one of those is in the direction of Pickens.
I like your chances. I'm pretty sure Pickens has like 25 catches on the season and 5 touchdowns. So he's scoring at about a 20% clip, which is insane. But that's what he does. He's a deep threat. He catches 50-50 balls, and Dak loves throwing that deep ball. That's why I think a lot of us felt like they were just going to be such a perfect pairing when they did bring Pickens on. And the fact that they don't have Lamb helps even more allude to that. So I think there's a ton of value in George Pickens at plus 165 because he's at least going to get targeted in the end zone once or twice.
Oh, yeah.
Browns and Steelers in Pittsburgh in a divisional matchup. Defensive matchup is what this one sounds like it's going to be. It was kind of tough to pick a touchdown scorer. But again, what's the motto? Keep it simple, stupid. Jaylen Warren coming back from injury. If he is fully healthy, I like the plus 105 price at home to get into the end zone. Again, Browns pass rush, incredible. Browns secondary, incredible. I don't know of a world where there could be a random receiver that scores for the Steelers. But I think if I'm willing to bet money on it, I'm going to bank on the running back getting in. So give me Jaylen Warren at plus 105.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to double dip here. Went with him last week and got a 60-yard touchdown called back in the game against the Vikings. I'm going right back with Judkins. It's at plus 100, so even money on that. I really feel like Judkins is due for a huge breakout game. He's played extremely well running the football for them. He's been one of the real highlights of that offense, one of the only, I should say. I really like Judkins to get that touchdown back this week. He should have got us one last week, but I think he's going to get us one this week.
Absolutely. Is it too presumptuous to say that Quinshon Judkins already looks like a top 10 running back in the NFL?
I don't think so. No, I mean, I really think he's been the best so far this rookie. I mean, Genty had the one explosive game, but as far as consistency since he's been here, I mean, Judkins really looks like he's been the best so far this year.
Yeah. He looks the part, man. He looks like he's a 3-down back. He's fast. He's strong. He's got capabilities to pass catch as well. So really, truly just has it all. So kind of a steal if you drafted Quinshon Judkins in fantasy this year so far.
Yeah.
Chargers, Dolphins in Miami. Chargers taking on this horrific Miami defense. Chargers are without quite a bit of players. Obviously, we know Amari Hampton went down and their tackles are both out. But I am going to take the man that you took last week because, again, it just seems like he is due, man. He is due. Ladd McConkey at plus 170. He is consistently the guy that is open in this offense. I know that Quentin Johnston's having this year. I know Keenan Allen's basically older Ladd McConkey, but at some point, Ladd needs to get his. And I think this might be the week to do it. So give me Ladd McConkey at plus 170 against this Dolphins secondary.
Yeah, I like it. I went Quentin Johnston actually this week. I think there's a really good opportunity for Herbert to take the top off the defense. If that's going to happen, QJ is going to be your best option to do that. He is the definition of a deep threat, and now he actually catches the football. So I think there's a good opportunity that he finds the end zone, and really think they could both find the end zone this week, especially against that terrible Dolphins defense.
Who would have thought that catching the football was going to be so important for a wide receiver? Patriots taking on the Saints in New Orleans this week. I don't understand the Patriots' thought process. Their running backs quite literally fumble the ball in every other snap, yet they refuse to play Travion Henderson as much as they should. So that is why I hate him. I think he's incredibly inefficient. But I'm going to take Ramondre Stevenson at plus 115 because they love giving this guy the football, even though he's been fumbling the ball. He's inefficient. But there's something about him between the tackles that they trust over Travion Henderson. And now with Antonio Gibson hurt, it's really just them two. So plus 115, Ramondre Stevenson for another 4-carry, 8 yards, and a touchdown type game.
I'm actually going to take Henderson. I know I may be hopping on the bandwagon here and thinking that, same thing as everybody else is saying, this has to be the week. But for me, I feel like against the Saints, this is the prime opportunity to give him touches, see what he's about. This is a game that you really should win. So I think they finally are going to start giving him a few touches. They may let Stevenson fumble a time or two more here in this game before they start giving him the football. But I think that time is finally starting to come. I'm going to take Henderson this week to finally get in the end zone.
I quite literally cannot think of a player that's had a longer leash in terms of fumbling the football and still being such a mediocre player himself. It just, unless there's something about Travion Henderson they still don't like or completely trust, it makes no sense that guy's not on the field like 75% of the snaps. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Rams-Ravens, what should have been a good game when we were scheduling it probably preseason, is now going to be the Rams dominating this backup junior varsity team that the Ravens are putting out there. No Lamar this week again. I took this guy last week. He didn't score, but this is just such a great matchup. Devontae Adams plus 115 to find the end zone. My sneaky long shot here, I do also like Blake Corum. Again, I think this should be a blowout. Blake Corum, the backup running back, plus 400. So could he sneak into the end zone finally this week? Possibly, but I love Devontae Adams at plus 115.
Yeah, I like it. This one for me, I love the player, hate the price, but I just think Kyron's going to find the end zone. It's at minus 185, but I would even consider laying a 2-touchdown game for Kyron if you want to get better value there. I think that's definitely in the realm of possibility. My other pick would probably be Puka. He's not found the end zone as much this year, or really has struggled to find the end zone overall. But if there's a team to get right against, so many injuries to the Ravens, Puka's going to get his share. We're going to see 10 to 15 targets. Hopefully one of those could be in the end zone. So if you want a cheaper price, Puka at minus 140, I like better.
In case somebody didn't watch the Ravens play last week, they took on the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud was the player that I picked up as my quarterback to start, and I think he was projected 12 points. I don't think he's put up a pretty good numbers at all season, and I'm pretty sure he had 4 touchdowns and scored like 26 fantasy points. So if that's any indication of what type of Ravens defense they're putting out there on a week-to-week basis, now they have to deal with Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams. Stafford's low-key a sneaky start this week as well if you're trying to stream a quarterback, but that's besides the point. But I think there's a world where Puka and Adams and Kyron for 2, like this could be a Rams slaughter fest against the Baltimore Ravens.
And speaking to the running backs too, we saw CJ Stroud get a 30-plus yard carry against the Ravens defense. So
exactly,
if he can run for 30-plus, then I think Kyron and Corum should have a great day.
Absolutely. Titans are traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders here, Jake. I'm going to take the Raiders running back Ashton Genty. This is my juiciest pick of the week. He's minus 145, so a little bit juicy, but he's going to find the end zone this week. He is the focal point of their offense. They're finally utilizing him in also the pass catching game. Again, he should be on the field 90% of snaps at least. If there's like 3 running backs in the NFL that I think need to be that, Ashton Genty is one of those guys. So hopefully they finally understood the assignment. Geno Smith has looked god awful. So that should just mean that you should hand the ball off to your superstar young running back that much more. Minus 145. I'll go ahead and eat the juice there.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on this one. I got Genty as well. There isn't really a Titans player I trust enough to find the end zone. They're very inconsistent on where the ball's going. Cam Ward has not been great to start the season. So and there aren't many Raiders receivers I'm really going to be taking here either. So Genty's kind of my no-brainer option here. If somebody's finding the end zone, he's our best bet.
I think Brock Bowers might not play either. So they're quite literally, in terms of pass catchers, unless you want to take a flyer on Myers, or Trey Tucker may break out again in his boom bust season, Genty is by far the most reliable player here for both teams to probably find the end zone. Packers at home taking on this new look Bengals led by Joe Flacco. So Joe Flacco just took on the Packers as a Brown about 2 weeks ago, beat the Packers 13-10. Now he is a Bengal and he's taking on the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay at Lambeau. I don't know how much this is going to help the Bengals offense. I do think there's a world where Flacco gets the ball out a lot quicker, but he also is like, his feet are stuck in cement. So he's not going to be able to move, and the Bengals offensive line is so bad. What that leads me to believe is there's just going to be hella checkdowns to the running back, short routes to the receivers. But I don't know why I'm spending time talking about all that. Nobody on the Bengals is scoring a touchdown, at least in my eyes. I'm taking Tucker Kraft for the Green Bay Packers to get into the end zone. The Bengals defense is awful. Again, we've talked about this all season. Who is the go-to target for the Packers? They have not found the receiver to be the alpha yet. I know you're going to touch on a receiver here shortly, but I'm going to go with the tight end Tucker Kraft at 160 to get back in the end zone.
Yeah, I like it. So I'm going to double dip here. I went with this guy last week. He did not let me down. He found the end zone, albeit in garbage time, which may be the case again this week. But I think Flacco coming in is going to open up the offense a little bit more. Browning's just been really, really bad, turned the ball over way too often. Flacco can at least control an offense. He's been here before. The man's made Super Bowls. So I think he's going to be a much better option. So I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. Anytime I'm getting him at plus 175 for what I believe to be the best receiver on the planet, him and JJ right there, 1A, 1B. And you could probably make an argument that Puka is in that conversation as well. But I really like Chase. Anytime I'm getting him at a plus 175 price, I'm going to take that.
Yeah, that's a great price. Again, if they're going to find it, they could be up 30. The Packers could be up 35-0, similar to kind of how the Bengals were getting blown out last week, and then Chase found the end zone twice in garbage time. So that could very much be the script. But for us as bettors, we don't care when they score. First game of the game, first play of the game, last play of the game, doesn't matter to us. So yeah, I like that price as well. 49ers, Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. I'm double dipping. I'm going back to this well. Did not work out for me last week, but I'm going to take Chris Godwin plus 180 to find the end zone. Again, this is kind of like a statistical / probability play, right? I mean, how many times is Emeka Egbuka going to find the end zone? It is just ridiculous how much that man is scoring. I am just waiting for some sort of a regression in terms of touchdowns, and Baker looks elsewhere. Godwin is slowly getting healthier. He did pop back up on the injury report, which is not a great sign. So definitely something to monitor. But right now I found him at plus 180. And again, he is as good as Egbuka has been. In terms of the depth chart right now, Godwin is wide receiver 1. So I just think he has to eventually get his. And if he's getting healthier, it's a good matchup against the 49ers that are quite decimated on defense. So plus 180 for Chris Godwin for me.
I like it. You may be surprised. This will be the first week of doing the podcast that I'm not taking Christian McCaffrey in a 49er game. Although I do think he has a great probability of scoring. I took a little bit of a long shot here. So this one may work out, may miss here, but I'm going Cade Otton. He scored 4 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons each. So he's averaging about 1 every 4 games. So far this year, he has 0. So I think it's about the time that Baker's going to look for him, find him for a touchdown. So plus 295, so almost plus 300 price. So I really like Cade Otton as a long shot here to score 1 for us.
I like that a lot, specifically with the price. There was a world where Cade Otton at one point last year was like a reliable fantasy starter consistently, and it was a product of other players going down to injuries on that team. And he's a good player. It's just that they have like a plethora of riches in terms of pass catcher, especially with the emergence of Egbuka. So Otton's kind of just been.
We also saw an uptick in his catches last week. 4 for 81, I believe, is what he had. So he'd had a couple games where he didn't even catch the football, but. Baker really seemed to start targeting him a little bit more last week. I think we may see 5 or 6 targets again this week, and hopefully we see one of those in the end zone.
I like it. I like that price a lot. Lions Chiefs, what should be set up to be a pretty electric game. We both took this guy last week. It didn't happen for us, but it is happening this week. I'm taking Xavier Worthy plus 135 to find the end zone. This should be a shootout. These teams should be able to score the football. The Lions shouldn't have trouble scoring. The Chiefs are going to need to play catch up or just keep up. And so with that being said, I think there's going to be home run plays here. Jamison Williams on the other side really intrigued me, but he's more of a long shot. So give me Xavier Worthy at plus 135.
I like it. So I actually went back with Mahomes this week. So I know he scored one last week on the ground. He seems like he is really wanting to run the football, keep this in his hands a lot more this year. I think that may change when Rice is back in the picture. But I really think he just doesn't feel too confident in his receiving core right now. So he feels as though he needs to do it himself. Also, plus 295 on Patrick Mahomes is, I'm getting K-Dot and Price on the best quarterback in the game.
That's fair. You said he doesn't trust his receivers. It's also the fact that their running game is non-existent, right? So it's almost like he has to accommodate for short yardage gains that he needs as the running backs are not doing it for him. And then, like you said, Xavier Worthy is more of a take the top off guy. They're throwing bombs to Tyquan Thornton. The only guy that's really over the middle is like Juju, who's really old, and Travis Kelce, who's even older. So it is quite literally feeling like Patrick Mahomes is feeling like he has to do everything. And that's why his fantasy numbers have been so good, because he's scrambling every game. And so it's become very, very consistently part of his game.
Yeah.
Bills are traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. I'm manifesting this a little bit because he's on my team, but I'm going to take Drake London to find the end zone this week at plus 140. The Buffalo Bills defense has been bad. I don't know that there's a better way to sugarcoat that. They've just been bad. Luckily, they have Josh Allen, who can keep up with anybody and put points up on the board at will, but that doesn't take away from the fact that their defense hasn't really been able to stop anybody. Falcons have struggled to pass the football. They've run the ball a lot better, but this is a good spot for Drake London to get back into the end zone. Plus 140. I'm going to go ahead and take that.
I actually am right there with you. Primarily don't trust many players on the Bills team outside of Josh Allen and Cook, and both of them have a very juiced price. So really like Drake London. The other one would have been Bijan, but again, just price. Didn't really love the Bijan picks. I like Drake London at plus 140 as well.
I like that. That is, by the way, that is what our first of 2 Monday Night Football games this week. The second Monday Night Football game this week we have is the Bears traveling to Washington to take on the Commanders. I know I've probably been the biggest hater of this player, but ever since Eckler went down, the inevitable has happened, and I finally have to accept the reality that Bill Krosky is a thing. I'm gonna take Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt this week to find the end zone. He is even money, plus 100. Commanders at home, running the football. Daniels is back. Bill's looked awesome, man. He's looked awesome. I hate to admit it because I was wrong, but it's okay. Sometimes you have to admit when you're wrong. He looks really good, so I'm going to take him at plus 100.
I love that. I love the growth here that you're having on JCM. I've been high on him for a long time. So.
You have.
Glad to see it working out. I'm going other side of the ball. I really like Rome Odunze this week. He's clearly become wide receiver one in that offense. That's become Caleb's favorite target. So I really think he's going to get a lot of looks this week. I think he finds the end zone. Commanders' defense hasn't been incredible. I mean, they gave up a lot of points to the Raiders. So I think Rome's going to get a lot of targets, finds the end zone this week.
I hope he does not, because I'm playing against him in fantasy. But for the sake of your bet, I guess I hope he does. That is it for our anytime touchdown bets this week. Let's go ahead and cash some bets. Moving on to start sits, Jake. We have a short list this week, starting with Jaden Daniels taking on the Bears or Daniel Jones taking on the Cardinals. I'll kick us off. To me, this is a no-brainer. Jaden Daniels is an auto start when he's healthy. Like he's just one of those quarterbacks that you're not necessarily worried about matchup. You're not thinking, oh, this, that. Obviously, when he's injured or hobbled and he's playing without full mobility, like with the run game, that's where maybe you second guess or you're like, maybe I'll look elsewhere. But he's getting healthier. I don't think that's anything we need to worry about right now. So to me, it's Jaden Daniels for sure.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, insane. If you went back a year and we were having this discussion, it would be a crazy conversation. But I can definitely see why you're questioning going back and forth. I mean, Daniel Jones has been incredible. The Cardinals defense is not great. I think there's a lot of opportunity for him to put up points, but I agree with you. I think, Jaden's fully healthy. You have him, you kind of have to start him. He's a must start every week because he's someone that can go for 30 at any given time.
Absolutely. He's in that top echelon of quarterbacks when healthy that you just kind of sit it and forget it.
Yeah.
Another quarterback question here. We have Bo Nix taking on the Jets, Jake, or Jackson Dart taking on the Eagles. I'll let you take this one.
I'm going to go Bo Nix here. I really like the matchup against the Jets. We saw Dak Prescott just rip them to shreds. The run game ripped them to shreds last week. So I know Bo Nix loves to check the ball down, but he does have some incredible receivers, some good running backs there, and J.K. Dobbins that can take those to the house. I just really matchup based would be going with Bo Nix. I don't love starting anyone against that Eagles front seven.
Yeah, and the reality with Jackson Dart is he's looked good, but he's played more like a quarterback too. The fantasy weeks that have been decent for him have been him finding the end zone as a runner. So I don't know that you can bank on that week to week, at least not yet anyway, specifically against this Eagles defense. So I'm with you. I think for me, this is a no-brainer. You take Bo Nix. We're starting 3 of 4 here, Jake. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt versus the Bears. Auto start. Garrett Wilson versus the Denver Broncos. Zay Flowers versus the Rams, or Alvin Kamara versus the Patriots. Start 3 of 4. Who are we benching here?
So two of these are pretty easy for me. Well, I guess one of these is easy. JCM. I was going to
Yeah.
say Zay is pretty easy for me, but without
No
Lamar,
Lamar.
that's very, very challenging.
Yeah.
I would probably say Wilson has to be a start among these four, even though I do not like that matchup against PS2 at all. And then I actually have concerns about Kamara as well. We'll talk about him here in a little bit further, but I guess I'd probably lean towards Kamara just because of Zay not having Lamar. But I could go either way on Zay or Kamara, but I think JCM Wilson probably a definite start for me. And then if I had to pick one, I'm probably going more towards Kamara just for volume purposes.
I'm in that exact same boat. Kamara's losing touches to Kendre Miller. That's a real concern. Kamara's on the injury report. That's a real concern. But again, the reality is Zay Flowers is he's already been kind of an accessory or like an accessory for the team, not a necessity, right? And now you have a backup quarterback playing Cooper Rush. It's really far fetched to hope that the receiver is going to have a good enough fantasy day to justify starting him over proven guys and guys that at least are going to touch the football. So I'm in that same boat. The only world where, again, you start Zay is if you find out Kamara is actually not going to play because, again, he's on the injury report. So definitely monitor that. But temper your expectations with Kamara because, again, Kendre Miller is a real thing, at least right now. And Kamara is getting older, and they are cutting back his usage a little bit. I don't know if it's kind of pairing with the fact that he's been hobbled the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Start one here. Rico Dowdle versus the Carolina Panthers. Or I'm sorry, Rico Dowdle versus the Dallas Cowboys. My mistake. Rico Dowdle versus the Dallas Cowboys. Alvin Kamara again versus the Pats. Or Derrick Henry versus the Rams.
This one's easy for me. I'm going Rico every single time on these three. We just saw him go for over 200 yards rushing. The one thing I would monitor would be what's Hubbard's availability going to look like because the offense does really like Hubbard. He had a very successful last season. I don't think you see him get migrated out for Rico immediately. But if he's banged up, I think I'd definitely go Rico Dowd here.
Yeah, again, I think about us having this conversation last year, and the choices are Kamara, Derrick Henry, or Rico Dowdle. And you were like, this is a no-brainer, Rico Dowdle. I just can't even fathom us thinking that was a legitimate conversation we would have last year. But I'm with you, dude. Rico Dowdle, revenge game. There's no reason for them to push Chuba Herbert back to being healthy. There's no reason for them to even play him, to be honest. Like, it's one of those things where what are the Panthers really playing for, right, in the grand scheme of things? So I just feel like they have to try to make sure that Chuba comes back fully healthy. And Rico clearly showed last week that he can shoulder the load while Chuba is out. We've already talked about the Kamara situation, and with the Derrick Henry situation, no Lamar, and the Rams front is nasty. And we've already seen Derrick Henry have a RB1 week 1, and then after that, I think he's been RB 22, 42, 52, and then in the 20s again. So he's been bad. Bad matchup. If the quarterback is not Lamar Jackson, they can put 9 in the box and let Cooper Rush try to beat you. And that's just not a recipe for success for Derrick Henry. So, yeah, I'm with you. I take Rico Dowdle there. And the last start and sit we have, Jake, Jalen Waddle versus the Chargers, or flip it backwards, Ladd McConkey versus the Dolphins.
I think I slight lean Ladd here. Waddle has become the primary target in that receiving group. But I think the Chargers just have a little bit better defense than what Miami has, are a lot more mouths to feed with the Chargers. But I think I would go Ladd here just because partially he's on my fantasy team. I need him to do well this week, and I am starting Ladd. But I just think I like the matchup against the Miami defense.
Yeah, the matchup definitely tells me that I would also lean Ladd. Waddle is now their true wide receiver 1, and he's had, I think, 3 touchdowns already this year, and last week was his first 100-yard game, his first game with over 9 targets. So I don't know if they're finally funneling offense through Jalen Waddle because he's shown that he can definitely shoulder that load. The only concern with Jalen Waddle in my head all the time is that it just takes one play for that guy to get hurt, and then he's hobbling off the field. And so that is always a scary predicament. And you know me, I have a lot of Waddle stock this year, so it's a very tough situation to gauge. But I think I also slightly lean Ladd because, again, we're playing the probability game. QJ's had his boom weeks. Keenan Allen's had his boom weeks. This is just a great matchup for Ladd to finally get his boom week. But that's not to say I still think Jalen Waddle's a good play this week. So if there's a world where you can start both of these guys and there's a third person you could possibly bench, I would actually consider that scenario. But out of these two, I would definitely lean Ladd. Let's get into our boom bust, Jake. My boom this week is Jordan Love. No other reason except for the fact that he's taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. We know how bad this defense is. I've been basically targeting any players that take on this defense, whether they're quarterback or running back, receiver or tight end. It doesn't really matter to me. They're 26th against opposing quarterbacks in fantasy football. Love's coming off a game where he had 26.2 fantasy points versus Dallas and a quarterback 6 finish. They went into a bye, so they're coming back fully healthy, a whole week's rest, a whole week worth of preparation against the Bengals, who, again, you probably don't need that much time to prepare because they're just so bad. But despite all of that, the Packers should be able to put up a lot of points against the Bengals. So give me Jordan Love to absolutely boom this week.
We're thinking in the same realm here with my boom. So I'm taking a little bit more of a risky play this week. So we talk a lot about Kraft being the primary target there, still looking for that wide receiver one. I think against the Bengals defense that's really, really struggled, this is a great week for Matthew Golden to finally start to establish himself as a legitimate wide receiver one for them. He's getting a very high snap count. I think his routes, his percentages that he's open is significantly higher than anyone else on that team. So he's only projected, I think, about 7 points this week in our sleeper league. We're half PPR, so maybe a touch higher in PPR leagues. But I really think we could see him have a 12, 15-point week this week with playing that bad defense. And just if Love will give him the opportunities, then I think we could really see him start to boom, start to flourish as that wide receiver one option for them.
I know the Packers fans and Packers land is definitely holding out hope for somebody to emerge as the guy, and Golden's got the best bet and best kind of traits and ability to be that guy. And like you said, maybe the trajectory is slowly, slightly creeping upward with the usage and the routes ran and all that stuff. But this is, you're right, the ideal matchup to hope that finally happens. So I like it. It's kind of a nice pairing. Jordan Love goes off. Hopefully one of those touchdowns goes to Matthew Golden, and we both boom a little bit there. My bust this week, we've already talked about it. It's Derrick Henry, man, versus the Rams. They're second against running backs in terms of fantasy points. We already talked about it. No Lamar. Derrick Henry's RB finishes since week 1, where he was quite literally running back 1, running back 58, running back 22, running back 42, and running back 25. So pretty damn bad. And this is, again, a horrible matchup. No Lamar to worry about. There's just not a lot to like here unless Derrick Henry randomly, stumbles into the end zone. So that's why I think there is a high bust potential for Derrick Henry this week.
Yeah. I'm going Alvin Kamara this week, actually. So I think New England has a pretty strong run defense. Not the best in the league, but they do a pretty good job of stopping teams. Really, I think it's more for me the split with Miller. I think we start to see that get much larger. I'm not personally confident that we see Kamara end the season as a Saint. I think there could be an opportunity that we see him get moved to somewhere where it could benefit him a little bit more on a contender. Chiefs would be a team I would immediately look at and say, like, this would make a lot of sense for them. But, if I'm the Saints, and, obviously not a huge fan of the Saints myself, being a Panther fan, but, you got to look at the future. This is obviously a rebuilding team. Miller is, I think, 6 or 7 years younger than Alvin Kamara. How much do you really want to continue to just burn Alvin Kamara when he's likely not a big part of your future plans? I don't see this Saints team contending in the next 2 or 3 years. May as well go ahead and start to bring up that next running back. And I think we're starting to see that shift really occur. So I think we may even see a 50-50 split between the two this week.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I like the thought that you brought up about the trade possibility because he is such a prime trade candidate. The Saints are absolutely not competing. Kamara probably wants to go to a contender because how many real years does he have left in the NFL? So, yeah, you're right, man. That would be incredible if you hold on to Kamara and he goes to somebody like the Chiefs. Maybe this is a buy low opportunity for Alvin Kamara, right? You could go into your leagues and try to trade for the guy because, again, he's losing touches to Kendre. He's on the injury report. I don't know that his value is as high as, most people would think it is. So could be a really, really nice, buy low candidate right now. So I like that. I like that a lot. My defense this week, easy, taking on the Rams. The Rams are taking on the Ravens. The Ravens are deploying a bunch of backups. It's a no-brainer for me. The Rams their front's incredible. I was able to scoop them up, so I don't think they're not widely available. Like, they are available in a lot of leagues. So Rams defense, there's a lot of good matchups this week, but Rams defense against the Ravens backups against Cooper Rush, I'll take that every day.
Yeah, I'm actually going Brandon McManus this week. So he has struggled. He's missed a few kicks this year. But what better week to get right than when you're playing the Bengals? They're going to move the football very well. Only rostered in about 10% of leagues. So he's going to be widely available. He has had a few double-digit games already this year. I think this is a good opportunity. My only worry really here is that he ends up kicking 6 extra points instead of getting some field goal opportunities. But we're hoping the Bengals can stall him out at least a few times, give us a couple field goals mixed in with those extra points.
That's so funny you mentioned that, because my kicker this week is Andy Borealis from the New England Patriots. They're taking on the Saints this week. The Patriots offense is finally showing some signs of life the past 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, he quite literally kicked 6 extra points. It's crazy you said that. The Patriots scored 6 touchdowns and he kicked 6 extra points. But what that means to me is the Patriots are finally moving the ball and getting the ball in areas of the field where there are field goal opportunities. And they're not such a dynamic offense that they should be 6 for 6 in the red zone every single game, right? So if they're moving the ball enough, they're getting into the red zone enough, they're going to have opportunities for him. And last week, I believe he went 3 for 3 on field goals and had 13.2 fantasy points. So again, they are moving the football and getting in position and territory for them to attempt these kicks. And he's only missed one so far this year. So they're playing indoors in New Orleans at the Superdome. So give me the New England kicker as my kicker this week. Let's end it with your defense this week, Jake.
Yeah, I actually have the Patriots this week. So they're rostered in about 24% of leagues. Not been the best defense so far this year, but I really like the matchup against the Saints. Rattler actually has surprised me. He's slung the ball pretty well. But I think his core tendency is he is truly a gunslinger type quarterback. He loves to throw the football down the field. I could see an opportunity where the Patriots can force a few turnovers this week and really put up some points. And I don't trust that Saints offensive line to protect him the way they need to. So I think really good opportunity for the Patriots to just beat up on the Saints some this week.
I like that. We get defense and kicker for the Patriots. Hopefully they're having a big, big week for us. That is it for our boom busts and our hidden gems. I know you have something here to end us with, Jake. Go ahead. Take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought I would bring a little something different here to the podcast this week. So I got the Flinch'em 5. So this is going to be my favorite picks of the weekend. So we got Bucks, Colts, Steelers, Patriots, and Bills. Taking that as a 5-leg parlay plus 550. If you really want to get spicy and add a 6th leg, I actually like the Lions to beat the Chiefs. That's going to be a tough one to add in there. So I like my 5 a little bit better, but if you really want to try to juice it up a little bit, that takes it from plus 550 to plus 1,300 if you believe in the Lions. So, but plus 550 on those 5 teams, I think all 5 of them have good matchups this week, have a great opportunity to win. So let's see if we can cash a plus 550 this weekend.
Let's get it. I will be tailing the Flinch'em 5, and hopefully this is the first of many Flinch'em 5s that we are bringing to the podcast and cashing. That is it. That is all we have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode. If you're watching, hit the like, hit the subscribe. It helps spread the word. Socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at The Only Playbook. I am Sweetheart. That is my good friend Jake. We are The Only Playbook. Win your fantasy week. Let's cash some bets. Have a great day.